What if one of the most shocking ideas in Gnosticism is hiding in plain sight inside the Bible itself? The Old Testament repeatedly presents God declaring that there is no other God and describes himself as jealous. Most Christians read those words as proof of God's absolute supremacy, but several Gnostic texts read them in the opposite way. To them, the voice boasting that no higher God exists is not the highest Father. It is a lower creator who does not know what exists above him, the Demiurge. And once you see how the Nag Hammadi texts make that argument, the Gnostic vision of Jesus, creation, and the divine spark begins to make sense. Today, we are opening one of the most dangerous questions in early Christian thought. Is the God of the Old Testament the same ruler the Gnostics called Yaldabaoth? Let's start with Isaiah. Isaiah 45:5 declares, "I am the Lord, and there is no other." Exodus describes the Lord as a jealous God. Now compare that language with the secret book of John, also called the Apocryphon of John. Yaldabaoth looks upon the realm he has fashioned and declares, "I am God, and there is no God but me." Then the text tells us why he says it. Not because he is the one and only true God, but because he does not know where his own power came from. And that's the key. The Gnostic accusation is not simply that the Creator is cruel. It is that the Creator is ignorant. He mistakes the limits of his own perception for the limits of existence. He cannot see the fullness above him, so he concludes that there is nothing above him. The hypostasis of the Archons makes the same point even more aggressively. Its chief ruler surveys the material realm and announces that he alone is God. Then a voice from beyond his realm tells him he is mistaken. The text calls him Samael, the blind God. He possesses power, but not complete knowledge. He can organize matter and exercise authority inside the lower cosmos, but he does not know the source beyond himself. That distinction changes everything. Because in this Gnostic cosmology, being powerful does not make a being ultimate. Creating a world does not make a being the monad. Receiving worship does not make a ruler the highest God. A ruler can dominate an entire realm while remaining ignorant to the light beyond it. Above Yaldabaoth is not another tribal god fighting him for territory. Above him is the ineffable source, the ultimate divine reality beyond form and limitation, the monad. Yaldabaoth belongs to the lower order. His power is derivative. His realm is limited. The tragedy is that he does not even know it. On the origin of the world repeats the pattern. The chief ruler declares that he is God and no other exists apart from him. The text condemns that declaration because immortal realities exist above him. 3 Nag Hammadi works preserve the same basic idea. A creator rules below. He creates absolute divinity, and the higher realm exposes his claim as ignorance. If this transmission is speaking to something within you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this work reach others who are beginning to awaken their inner light. The Nag Hammadi texts do not place a modern label saying that Yahweh equals Yaldabaoth beside every Old Testament verse. They do something more revealing. They take recognizable language and creation stories from the Hebrew scriptures and reinterpret the Creator inside a radically different cosmic hierarchy. The biblical God says there is no other. Yaldabaoth says there is no other. The biblical God calls himself jealous. Yaldabaoth echoes that jealousy. But the meaning is reversed. What biblical tradition presents as divine supremacy, these Gnostic texts present as evidence that the lower ruler cannot perceive what exists above him. The parallels to the exclusivity language of Isaiah are strong enough that scholars explicitly examine Yaldabaoth's boast as a Gnostic reworking of the biblical claims about God. This is not mainstream Jewish or Christian theology. It is a Gnostic rereading of biblical theology. This is where Jesus becomes central. The secret book of John is framed as a revelation from the risen Christ to John, and that revelation does not begin with Yaldabaoth. It begins with transcendent divine reality beyond the lower creator. The Gnostic Jesus is not merely teaching people how to behave inside the Demiurge's system. He reveals that the system is not ultimate. Christ comes from beyond the ruler's field of knowledge, carrying remembrance from the fullness of the monad into the realm governed by forgetfulness. That is why Gnosis matters. Gnosis is the soul discovering that the authority claiming to be absolute is not absolute. This is where the teaching becomes personal. If Yaldabaoth's deepest flaw is ignorance, then the human problem mirrors the cosmic problem. We suffer when we forget our origin and mistake the visible world for the whole of reality. We mistake worldly systems for truth. We fear authority. We mistake identity for essence. We believe that the temporary is eternal. The Demiurge says, in effect, there is nothing beyond me. And every time the soul accepts limitation as its final identity, that pattern repeats. But the divine spark within you points beyond this boundary. Something in you remembers the fullness of the monad, even when the mind cannot explain it. The Gnostic path is not ultimately about fearing Yaldabaoth. It is about making it impossible for ignorance to rule. If the Demiurge rules through ignorance, awakening is already liberation. You do not need to become more powerful than the ruler of the cosmos. You only need to remember what the ruler himself forgot. Your origin is beyond this material plane of existence. Your deepest light does not begin with the authorities of the lower realm. And the monad does not need a throne, jealousy, or compulsory worship to prove what it is. The highest reality does not become the highest by declaring itself to be the highest. It simply is. The Gnostic accusation against the Old Testament creator was that he mistook his own realm for the whole of reality. The Demiurge looked upward, saw nothing, and declared there was nothing there. However, the awakened soul looks inward, finds the light, and remembers where it came from. That is the difference between authority and truth, between the ruler and the source, between the Demiurge and the monad. And once the soul remembers that difference, the false god of the material plane loses its power. If this transmission resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may be starting to see through the illusion but doesn't yet have the words for it. Comment below. When you hear the words, "I am God and there is no other," do you hear ultimate truth or a ruler revealing the limits of his own awareness? Your comments help build this field of remembrance, so others who arrive here know they are not alone on the path. And if you feel called to support the channel more directly, there are a few ways to do so. You can leave a super thanks on this video. Buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/magnumopus333. Or you can visit the Magnum Opus 333 store on Teespring. The links are in the description below. And if you want to go deeper with this work, consider becoming a channel member. Memberships help sustain these transmissions and supports the creation of deeper monad-centered content for those who feel called to this path. Remember, your consciousness is the key that unlocks reality. Let's keep unlocking it together. Thank you for watching. Until next time.